How about this question for a video starter? What do you get when you cross some cute lap dogs, the washing of hands, a persistent Gentile woman, and Jesus seemingly changing his mind about something? Well, I think you've got a great passage from the Gospel of Mark about faith in God and the power of prayer. Before we examine our primary scripture about Jesus healing a woman's daughter, let's walk back a few moments in the Gospel of Mark. We find Jesus being questioned by religious elite about whether or not his disciples should be washing their hands before they eat. Yes, you just heard that right. The Pharisees are so caught up in trying to find flaws in Jesus' teaching, his reasoning, and living that they begin to look at his followers and point to a lack of ritualistic cleanliness as a mark of Jesus' bad leadership and false teachings. Jesus quickly turns the conversation on its head and reminds the Pharisees they are wielding their power in the wrong way. It isn't what goes in the body, or whether or not we have washed our hands before we eat that makes something unclean. It's what comes out of the body, more specifically what comes out of the heart, that has the power to shape whether something is clean or unclean. After reframing power and cleanliness as acts of the heart, Jesus attempts to retreat with his disciples for rest. In our scripture this week, Jesus journeys well outside his ministry area, but not far enough as to escape word of his miraculous ways. A woman whose daughter was possessed by an unclean spirit hears Jesus is in the area and she finds him. Falling on her knees in humility, she asks Jesus to heal her daughter. In a moment that theologians still have questions about, Jesus is recorded speaking some curious words. He says something like this: "Let the children be satisfied first, for it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." For ease of understanding, we might restate this verse of Scripture like this: "Let those for whom I came, God's chosen people, the Jews, understand and receive the fullness of my teaching first. For it's not right to give food made for my children to those who don't yet sit at this table." Jesus refers to those at the table with words that mean something like cute lap dogs. Jesus had come to reveal to God's people the fullness of God's love. But the woman, in faith, was not satisfied with Jesus' answer. She testifies to a scene that happens all too often in my home. "Yes, Jesus," she says, but even small dogs named Baxter often get fed food directly from Pastor John's plate at the table." Some theologians believe that her inference may be that eventually God's message and power will be for all people through God's people that pass it down from the table as good news for the world. As Mark is writing this gospel, I wonder if he's trying to tell us more than just a story about a woman who changes Jesus' mind. I wonder if Mark is trying to show us that these two stories have something in common. What comes out of the heart is what matters. What comes out of the heart has power. The two stories back to back in the gospel may remind us it isn't just about whether we look clean, or come from clean places, or wash our hands, or even if we're accepted into any particular family of faith or group of people that really matters. Jesus' power is on full display in his response to the woman. "Because you said this, because what comes out of you is pure and clean. Go. The demon has already left your daughter." Now, has Jesus changed his mind based on the woman's request? Perhaps. Perhaps a contrite and prayerful act from a humble woman can compel Jesus to relent and expedite his mission beyond the Jews to the whole world in that very instant. Perhaps Mark wants us to see that a clean heart is more powerful than almost anything. Perhaps God is always prepared to heal in unexpected ways when we understand, by faith, where the power always comes from. I'm reminded this week there is power in both the clean and the unclean. Power in belief and power in unbelief. My prayer is that you will seek to have the power which flows from your heart to be pure and in line with the love of Jesus. It's a power, perhaps through your prayer, that is ready to be poured over all the people in our community and the world.